Thank you very much. So yeah, welcome to our panel discussion for Venturefest South 2020. As you can see, my name's Jack Kennedy. I'm the Economic Development Manager at Basingstoke-and-Deane Borough Council. We've been a partner for Venturefest South for a number of years, and it's great to be involved again today, albeit in a slightly different format to what we're expecting at the beginning of the year. I don't think I was expecting to do a panel discussion from my second bedroom when we started this year, but that's where we are. I will be hosting a quick panel, bringing together some varied perspectives on our topic of what makes the South a great place to innovate. I'll shortly ask our panelists to introduce themselves, and then we'll have some opening questions. However, if you fancy getting involved in the chat, please do use the chat function to ask questions of any or all of our panelists, and we'll try and get through as many as possible. I know lots of people have been using the chat already, so I don't think that needs to be explained. If you do want to minimize the slides and see more of our wonderful faces as we discuss, you can use the minimize button in the top right of the slide to hide the presentation, and then there's a restore presentation button in the bottom right once we come back to Ed for the next presentation. Before I start, I just wanted to share one interesting quick result from a recent BDO survey that hopefully reflects the experience that is felt across the region. It was found that businesses across the Central South have outperformed the national average in terms of embracing innovation during the pandemic, with 43% of businesses in the region launching new products or services compared to a national average of just 29%. So what is it about this region that makes it a hotbed of innovation? Well, how about we introduce our panelists and find out? First of all, I'd like to introduce Elizabeth, if she can join.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Elizabeth. If you could just introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Corse, the Entrepreneur Engagement Manager for Technation, and my remit is to look and scout out for exciting, innovative scale-ups in the Southeast. So love everything to do with the Southeast region.
Great. And now can we have Matt join us?
Hi everybody, thanks for joining us at Venturefest South. I'm Matt Jeffrey, founder and MD of the multi-award winning Brightbulb design studio based on the beautiful Isle of Wight.
Great, thanks Matt. And Louise?
Hi everyone, I'm the Business Development Manager for the South Coast Centre of Excellence in Satellite Applications. We're part funded by the Satellite Applications Catapult and the UK Space Agency and hosted by the University of Portsmouth. My main mission is to support the businesses within the space ecosystem here on the South, and particularly those looking to exploit space assets and space data here on Earth.
Great, thanks Louise. And last but certainly not least, if Adrian can join us.
Hi, I'm Adrian Braine. I'm a founder at Route 21. We're a startup incubator based in Basingstoke. We've worked with a lot of companies over the years, more than 70 startups in total, and they've raised more than £25 million between them.
Great, thanks Adrian. So Elizabeth, I'm going to come to you first with our first question. When we think about the innovative tech sector in the UK, most people think of cities like London, Manchester, and that's where they associate it with. What would you say are the strengths of the Central South region in this sector?
Yeah, I think it's so glad you asked that question because it's a really good one. And I think for context, we have to understand that the UK is actually now third in the world when it comes to tech investment. And that's actually just behind China and the US, or the US and China. And last year we had about just over $10 billion invested in tech, and that's just VC investment. And I cannot overstate the importance that London has had in branding the UK as the place where tech happens. And I think what the opportunity is now for the regions such as the South Central or the Southeast is that it's our responsibility to leverage that brand and reach out to all other parts of the UK. So you know, it is no longer a London story. That is very, very clear from the data. That's what, you know, in terms of, yes, London is always going to be a global investment hub and it's an amazing asset, but we're now boasting 5 of the top 20 European tech cities are in the UK, which shows that cities across the UK are now thinking and acting globally and acting on that global stage. But in terms of, you know, we talk even about Manchester 2 years ago, they wouldn't have even figured. And last year they saw a 277% in 1 year increase in tech investment. And again, a lot of that is to do with branding. So coming specifically, oh, and the other thing to maybe mention as well is that now 45% of our high scale growth high value scale ups are outside of London. And that would have been unimaginable 2 years ago. That's how quickly it's moving. Looking specifically at the strengths of the South Central region, I think the main ones to look at is the fact we've got some really exciting growing clusters. And the thing that I think is very important is that they are very sector focused. You know, we're hearing about AR or augmented reality. We're hearing about space. We have AI in Southampton. We have 5G and IoT, which I know Adrian will come on to. And that is definitely something that regions need, is that sector focused approach. Also the fact that we're very well placed in that we are very much in that new technologies, the emerging technologies. So that's including your cybersecurity, your robotics, your AI. And for every pound spent globally in new technologies, 35p is spent in the UK. So specifically for the Southeast, I think the real opportunity has been COVID-19. You know, our proximity to London has always been a bit of a blessing and a curse. And actually, suddenly the Southeast is, well, why would you want to live in a tiny flat with no space and no greenery and no garden? Suddenly it's going to change the way that people commute. So suddenly we're going to have all these very smart, innovative people and population no longer commuting to London and roaming our region, which I think is incredibly exciting. So in terms of, the strengths is the smart local population, the clusters that have a very sector specific or sector focused approach. And finally, I think the biggest thing we need now is to really leverage that brand. I think something that would be very helpful to the Southeast generally would be an umbrella brand for tech. Bearing in mind, I am talking from a digital tech perspective, but you know, in the East, we have Tech East. In the Southwest, we have Tech Southwest. And in the Southeast, we just have lots and lots of great clusters doing lots of great things, but it's just very hard to bring that to a global audience.
Great. Thanks, Elizabeth. That's really helpful. So, I mean, bring it down maybe from the global audience to a more local story. Matt, come to you next to talk about Brightbulb Design. You're a well-established, innovative design agency based on the Isle of Wight, as you said. As you started out and as you've grown, what support has been made available to you locally? And what advice would you give to other businesses listening on this session today who want to grow in the region?
I mean, yeah, we've had an enormous amount of support growing our business in the south, but with 2 real sort of key mentors in particular. For one, the Isle of Wight Chamber and likewise with the Hampshire Chamber, from the start were fantastic support to Brightbulb. We signed up to the Chamber and it was kind of like being entered into a club of mutually proactive businesses. I attended many networking events, breakfasts, lunches, and so on, and really got to know other businesses, owners, and build my brand through speaking with people and seeing what other people were doing. They helped facilitate networking and passed on useful information, and importantly, backed my PR campaigns that we were doing, press releases through their media arms and through their magazines and marketing. Likewise with the Chamber, also part of the Isle of Wight Chamber is the Isle of Wight Lottery. We actually receive lottery funding through the Isle of Wight Lottery, which is sort of run by the Chamber, and the process was a sort of stringent process, but really helped us to think about our business and to set up our plans for the future. You had to do that as part of the process. With the funding we received, we were actually able to take 2 new employees on, and that really made us take a stepping stone. When we would have potentially been worried about cash flow, that actually really helped and benefited the business, and actually sort of revolutionised our business. The people that came in were a massive asset to us. And likewise with the Chamber, the second sort of mention is the Solent LEP for sure. I mean, they've been very influential in our business more recently, especially during lockdown as well. We took part in the Growth Accelerator Scheme, which has been created by the Solent LEP to help businesses sort of gain insightful knowledge and sounding board from top professionals in our region. For me, Jeremy Haler and James Hickey from BDO sat down with me, went through where we were at, what our goals were, the sectors we're targeting, where the profit was within the business. And they helped us sort of put a new spin on things, really, and put a new plan together with me for faster growth and some goals for 2 to 3 years' time to hit, which we've now got in place, and that's where we're looking to head. We've now got a strategy map together, new areas to target, new people to speak to, and we also get past the odd referral from the guys at BDO as well. So a very worthwhile sort of experience, and one that's sort of helping grow Brightbulb design. Solent LEP has also been very helpful in the information they put out for businesses. At the moment, there's a lot of grant funding, as James spoke about earlier, some really fantastic stuff. We certainly do help with the Isle of Wight Resilience funds that they have going, helping businesses do that to transform, help with grant funding to transform their digital presence. And we've been able to help those clients across the South with that grant funding. And that's been dramatically helpful for those businesses, specifically in the rural area, like on the island where we are. So I'd say to any business or that, that wants to grow, look on your doorstep. Here in the South, we see great institutions like the Chamber for both Hampshire and the island, and across the South, and the Solent LEP and those sort of organisations are really helping with various funding programs and courses and events. But most importantly, put what you put into it, what you want to get out. You can't just join these things and just think, I'm going to get business. Take the time to do networking, take the time to speak to people, chat with people, enter courses, just get out there and get to know people. And that's sort of the best advice I can give, really.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, and I definitely echo that. There's a lot of supportive organisations out there. And one great thing I think about Venturefest is that it brings a lot of them together. So it's a great platform for people to meet a number of those in one go. But yeah, definitely get out there, get speaking to them and see what support is available. So Louise, I'm going to come to you next. How do you see satellite technologies being able to benefit wider industries in the next few years? And why is the South particularly well placed to capitalise on this?
Right, thanks, Jack. That is quite an interesting question. There's lots of answers I could give, so I will try and scale it down. It was a good talk for some time. We are using an awful lot of satellite technologies in our daily life. It's already heavily embedded in what we do. But what we're starting to now see is what we're calling the new space age, where it's been much more affordable for private companies to increase their presence in space. So there's lots and lots of innovation going on because of this. We're seeing an increase in CubeSat programs, the rise of the mega constellations. So, for example, Starlink and Amazon's Blue Origin, and consequently, we're seeing an unprecedented amount of data being collected daily in relation to our planet and our activities on it. So it's a really exciting time for innovators to kind of explore what they can do in space. And in terms of the South, we're really well placed to take advantage of that opportunity. We have a fantastic academic knowledge base with huge amounts of space expertise in our universities. So Southampton, Portsmouth, and slightly further afield around Surrey and Sussex. Who work with an enormous amount of businesses through a variety of programs like Sprint. We've got fantastic facilities. So, for example, Chilbolton Observatory in Hampshire, it's got the world's largest steerable meteorological radar. So there's lots of opportunities there around kind of weather data and businesses that can exploit that. We're lucky to have a dedicated Southeast European Space Agency business ambassador who can support businesses accessing some of the space funding available through ESA. We've got a thriving SME community with lots of technological expertise around some of the areas that Elizabeth mentioned earlier. We have a huge number of companies in the aerospace sector. But we also, and I think this is where it's quite interesting, have a lot of forward-thinking initiatives. For example, the Solent Marine Enterprise Zone. So it's this idea of other industries and other sectors that wouldn't necessarily align themselves with space, who are looking to embed these really cutting-edge technologies into the projects and things that they're doing. So it's a really exciting time.
Great, Thanks. It does sound exciting. I noticed Ed's put some stuff in the notes as well about opportunities around the space sector. So if you're interested in that as a business, then do get in touch with either Louise or Ed, or have a look at the links that are out there. And of course, remember, get your questions in. If you've got questions for the panel, please do get them in soon. So coming to you, Adrian. I know from speaking with you that you're a big advocate for the transformative opportunities presented by 5G. Do you think the South has the strengths in the right sectors that will be able to use 5G to drive the right kind of innovation?
So yeah, definitely. We're very much looking to this region to drive the adoption of 5G. And I guess the first kind of obvious application for it, because the operators are really kind of pushing the speed, is in AR and VR. And so we have a lot of great companies around the region. So that there's some great clusters around Aldershot, Farnborough, and Guildford in gaming and VR and AR technology. We heard earlier from BAE Systems about what they're doing with VR and AR in the marine sector. And we're seeing a lot of demand for it there, particularly around training. What happens often in marine, before you're allowed on a ship, you have to be trained on the layout of it and know where things are. That's very expensive to do on a real ship. And so a lot of companies now are looking to virtualize that. The other thing, of course, around marine, and where we're very strong in the area, we've got some major ports in the region, in Portsmouth and Southampton, is the logistics side of it and transportation. And so firstly, just moving stuff around the port is the first thing. But then on the outward journey, transport companies at the moment, they know when something leaves somewhere, and then they know when it arrives somewhere else, but they don't know what happens in between. And that's an opportunity that 5G can create, is that end-to-end tracking for transport. The other area is, as I said, most people know about the speed in 5G, but the other big area in 5G is it's got aspects. It's not been designed just for people. It's been designed to work with things as well. And so it opens up that whole Internet of Things capability, and it has some characteristics around reliability and uptime that make it very good for people that need very reliable systems. And so advanced manufacturing then is another one. And what people are looking to do is to put private 5G networks into their factories. And so why are they using 5G there? Well, it's because there's a trend now more and more for robots to do assembly and advanced manufacturing. And increasingly, those robots are moving around. And so they can't really be cabled up. Wi-Fi doesn't support enough connections for Wi-Fi to be used. So many manufacturers now are looking at 5G. And again, we've got some great expertise in the region around Farnborough in the space and aerospace. We've got a lot of advanced manufacturing going on there. In the Crawley cluster around Gatwick Airport, there's also a lot of advanced manufacturing going on there around aerospace. And the final thing I think we've got is healthcare. So we've got some great universities in the region that are bringing a lot of healthcare issues to the fore, and then entrepreneurs picking those up and solving them. We've got a university hospital in Southampton. And where 5G can help there is in a number of ways. So in telemedicine, we all know about, we're getting used to that in a very small way at the moment, where we're not having real appointments with the doctor. We're having literally via phone, and 5G can really enhance that. Asset tracking is another big one for hospitals. I don't know if you've been into a ward, you probably noticed that the equipment's got usually a piece of tape stuck on it with the name of the ward written on it. that's how asset tracking is being done today. And so if somebody removes that from that ward and moves it somewhere else, we don't know where it's gone. And so I can see a lot of opportunities for 5G, and indeed that's what we're focusing on in Basingstoke through the work we're doing with the council and the LEP there and Route 21.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, hopefully over the next year or so, there'll be even more opportunities for people to get involved, particularly in the Basingstoke region. We've got plans for a 5G living lab in the near future. Now, people seem to be fairly shy on the chat function today, but there was one question that came in from Mitch, which I'll ask and see if anyone wants to put themselves forward to answer it. They might. I've got some other questions if not, but what do you think of the capital pilot and their group funding model? Louise?
I don't know a huge amount about Capital Pilot, but what I would say is I'm always kind of cautious when businesses are obviously charging for aspects of information for scale ups and startups that often can be available through other networks. There are lots and lots of funding and support mechanisms through things like the through EEN, so the Europe Enterprise Network, through the catapults, through business growth hubs. So I would always say, as a first stop, I'd look for those opportunities that are freely available, and that advice and that kind of signposting at the first stage before looking at spending money on getting that kind of information from a specific company.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that. You shouldn't have to pay money up front. Once the deal's done, there'll be a commission that you pay normally to the angel group. But that if you don't raise any money, you don't pay it. So you shouldn't ever have to pay up front.
Brilliant. I think I've only got time to squeeze one tiny last thing in, and I wanted to come back to Elizabeth actually to say, I wonder whether you could share any details about your future programs that you've got coming up that might be open for startups and more established businesses to join.
Yeah, so I guess to give a bit of context as to what Technation is, we are a government-funded organisation. It actually comes through the DCMS. So again, coming back to Louise's and Adrian's point, there is a lot of support out there that is freely available, and the support that we're providing is about connecting and enabling digital tech founders to scale up their companies quickly. So we're not there to support the early stage startups. Of course, there is plenty of other support available in the ecosystem, but we're really here to help, I guess, handhold and be on the side of the founder as they scale up. And we do that through what's called peer-to-peer growth programs. Now, the importance with that, and I know James even mentioned it earlier, the value of peer-to-peer is so incredible. And so this is about getting companies that are a similar stage in their business journey and their scaling up journey to get 30 of those founding founders and their leadership teams to come together so they can create their own peer-to-peer support. And then also equally bring people who are maybe 6 months or 12 months down the line back in to help almost pay it forward for those entrepreneurs. So the programs that we currently are recruiting at the moment are for what we would call different levels of scale up. So you have to have your product market fit. It's got to be a little bit later than you haven't built your product. You have to have at least one client, at least one pilot. It doesn't need to be revenue generating. It can be through a grant. But it's 3, that's Rising Stars, which is really all about showcasing exciting, innovative UK companies. And that's anything under 1.5 million revenue. Then you have Upscale, which is very much focused on that rapid scale up, that upward tick when it's literally you just can't keep up with demand and you're growing 20% month on month. So that's a 6-month virtual for now, unfortunately, a program, but again, with access to incredible coaches from things like Index Ventures and other founders. And then Future 50, which are the very late stage, all of the big names that you would know, things like Just Eat, Gusto, Secret, Escapes. So yeah, these are all available now, and I'll post that in the link so that you can get all the details.
Brilliant. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining discussion. I think there's always a lot more to discuss. I'm sure we could have gone on for quite a while longer, but thanks for joining us. And I believe I'm going to be handing back to Ed now to introduce the next part of the presentation. I mean, one of the things that is really important for us as a partner in Venturefest is the ability to use it as a platform to showcase some of the innovators from our region, and it's great to have one of those coming up next.